4 years with the Casio W-218H, the ultimate budget beater?
Hi everyone, welcome back to Frugal Watchbox channel. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the Casio W-218H, a budget-friendly digital watch that's been on my wrist for the past 4 years, or at least most of it. I originally picked it up for just $14, which is an absolute steal for a tough little timepiece like this. And of course, I went with the green version because, well, it just looked cool. For 2 solid years, this watch was my go-to for just about everything. Casual wear, outdoor fieldwork, yard chores, and even swimming. It handled all of it like a champ. Then, one day, the inevitable happened. The original resin strap gave up on life and snapped. But no worries, I found a green aftermarket strap that matched perfectly, and we were back in business. Now, let's talk battery life. This thing runs on a CR 2016 battery, which Casio claims should last about 7 years. So far, I haven't had to change it, and by my math, I've still got around 3 years before I even need to think about cracking it open. Not bad at all. Of course, after all this time, the watch isn't exactly in mint condition. It's got a few battle scars, scratches on the case, bezel, crystal, and even the case back. But hey, that just adds character, right? It's proof that this little guy has been through a lot with me. So after 4 years, how does the W-218H hold up? Is it still worth your hard-earned cash? Let's get into it.
Let's talk size, because numbers matter, especially for those new to this watch.
The Casio W-218H has a case size of 43.2 millimeters, which gives it a nice wrist presence without feeling too bulky. The lug-to-lug distance is 44.4 millimeters, meaning it stays compact and should fit comfortably on most wrists. At just 10.8 millimeters thick, it's slim enough to slide under a sleeve, but still has that rugged digital watch vibe. The lug width is 16 millimeters, so if you ever want to swap out the strap, you'll know what size to look for. And finally, it weighs just 37 grams, making it super lightweight. You'll barely notice it's there until you check the time or admire how tough it looks.
How's it holding up after 4 years?
Well, it's been through a lot, and the wear and tear tell the story. The case and bezel have picked up some minor scratches. Nothing too crazy, just enough to show it's been used. The crystal, though? Yeah, that's where you'll see the most battle scars. It's got some pretty heavy scratches, which isn't surprising for a plastic crystal that's been exposed to everyday adventures. The scratches aren't visible in this lighting and may not show up on camera, but they can be seen in real life under certain lighting conditions and at the right angles. As for the case back, there are a few scratches here and there, but the original engravings are still perfectly readable, which is a good sign. Despite the wear, it's still ticking, still legible, and still looking rugged. Think of it as a trusty old truck, maybe a few dents and scratches, but it keeps going strong.
Case, bezel, crystal, and dial check.
After 4 years of daily wear, how has the Casio W-218H held up? Let's take a closer look at its case, bezel, crystal, and dial to see how much battle damage it has taken over time. The resin case and bezel have held up surprisingly well. Sure, there are some minor scratches and scuffs here and there, but nothing major. It still looks good from a distance, and unless you inspect it up close, the wear and tear isn't too noticeable. No cracks, no structural damage, just the usual signs of a well-loved watch. One detail worth mentioning is that the illuminator imprint on the top of the bezel is still clear and legible, even with some surface scratches around it. The Water 50M Resist imprint below the screen is also sharp and easy to read, showing that Casio did a great job with durable printing. The buttons are working flawlessly. The single button on the right controls the light, while the 2 buttons on the left for start/stop and mode are also functioning perfectly. For a watch that's been through casual wear, outdoor work, and even water exposure, the bezel and case still look solid, proving that this budget-friendly timepiece was built to last. Now let's talk about the crystal, which, let's be honest, was never meant to be scratch-proof. After 4 years, it has picked up a fair number of scratches, especially in the middle where it catches the most contact. If you like your watches to stay spotless, this might bother you. But hey, at this price point, scratches are just character marks, right? Flipping the watch over, the stainless steel case back has some scratches too, but nothing too deep. The Casio engravings are still visible, which is a good sign that the wear isn't too aggressive. Now, let's talk about legibility, because a watch is only as good as how easy it is to read. The green and white lines around the display panel remain sharp and well-defined. There are a few noticeable scratches on the crystal. The Casio logo at the top, despite the scratches on the crystal, remains visible, as do the alarm and chronograph imprints at the bottom. The indicators are still crisp and clear, which is impressive given how much where this thing is seen. On the left side of the display, the alarm and hourly time signal indicators remain fully visible. No fading or weird screen glitches here. Right in the center, the day of the week still shows up in bold, easy-to-read letters, and the date on the far right is just as sharp as when I first got it. The 24-hour format indicator is also holding up well, so if you prefer military time, no worries there. And of course, the main event, the big, bold digits for hours, minutes, and seconds are still super clear. Casio did a great job with this display, making sure that even after years of use, it remains easy to read at a glance. So, while the watch might have picked up a few scratches on the outside, the screen remains highly legible, and it's still a reliable timekeeper. The watch does run 6 to 7 seconds fast, but that's pretty normal for a quartz watch after years of use. That's a win in my book.
Overall verdict.
After 4 years, the Casio W-218H shows normal signs of wear, but functionally, it's as reliable as ever. If you don't mind a few battle scars on the crystal, this watch is still a solid performer.
Band check. Holding up or wearing out?
Now let's talk about the strap, because what's a good watch without a good band to hold it in place? The original resin strap lasted about 2 years before finally calling quits. Not surprising for a budget Casio, but still a bit of a bummer. When it snapped, I went on the hunt for a replacement and found this green aftermarket strap that matches the case and bezel perfectly. Honestly, if you didn't know any better, you'd think it was the original. After 2 years of wear, the replacement strap is still going strong. It doesn't feel brand new anymore, but it's holding up just fine. No cracks, no peeling, no weird stiffness. In terms of quality, it's actually very close to Casio's original resin bands, at least in terms of flexibility and feel. One small difference, though, the original Casio strap had imprints on the underside, while this one is completely smooth. Not a big deal, but worth noting if you like those little branding details. Now let's talk about the buckle. It's black, sturdy, and gets the job done. But here's the interesting part. I can't quite tell if it's made of hard plastic or metal. It feels solid though, and hasn't shown any signs of weakness, so no complaints there. Overall, this replacement strap has been a great match, both in looks and function. If I didn't tell you it was aftermarket, you probably wouldn't even notice.
Alarm check.
Still waking me up, or with just a gentle reminder? Alright, let's put the alarm to the test after 4 years of daily wear. Has it lost its edge, or is it still as sharp as ever? Well, good news. The alarm still works perfectly. The sound is just as clear as when I first got it. It's not the loudest alarm in the world, but it's definitely medium in volume. Enough to grab your attention in a quiet room, but probably not enough to wake you up if you sleep like a rock. If you're hoping to use this as a substitute for a full-blown bedside alarm clock, you might want to reconsider. But for setting quick reminders, timing events, or making sure you don't forget that pizza in the oven, it still does the job well. The beeping tone remains consistent, with no weird distortions, static, or fading issues. Some cheap digital watches tend to lose their crispness over time, but this little Casio holds up well. It still gives you that classic, reliable Casio beep, the kind that instantly reminds you of school days, retro gadgets, or old-school stopwatches. So, for years in, the alarm hasn't lost its voice. It's still clear, reliable, and functional, Just don't expect it to blast you out of bed in the morning. For that, you might need a louder backup or a really good reason to wake up on time.
LED backlight check.
Now, let's take a look at the LED backlight after 4 years. Has it dimmed with time, or is it still going strong? Well, I'm happy to report that the amber LED light is still bright and fully functional. Just like when it was new, it lights up the display well enough to read the time in the dark without any issues. Casio uses a single LED positioned on the left side, so the light isn't evenly distributed across the whole screen. The right side of the display is a little darker, which is something you'll notice if you're really paying attention. Would it be better if there were 2 LEDs, one on the left and one on the right? Absolutely. A more balanced glow would make the digits even easier to read in pitch black conditions. But for a watch that originally cost just $14, that's not something to complain about. You're not getting high-end LED tech here, but what you do get is functional and reliable. One thing I appreciate is that the light doesn't flicker or fade over time like you might see on some older digital watches. After 4 years, it's still consistent, clear, and bright enough for nighttime use. It's not going to blind you, but it's more than enough to check the time when you wake up in the middle of the night, wondering why it's still dark outside. Overall, for what it is, a simple, no-nonsense backlight, it still gets the job done. Sure, a dual LED setup would have been a nice upgrade, but at this price, the single amber glow is more than enough to keep this watch practical in low-light situations.
Water-resistant check. Still holding strong?
After 4 years of use, does the Casio W-218H still hold up when it comes to water resistance? Well, I put it to the test. First, I ran it under tap water in the sink, letting the water flow over the watch like a mini waterfall. No issues. The display remained clear, no fogging, and the buttons still worked perfectly. Next, I submerged it underwater for a few minutes, just to see if it could handle a little extra pressure. And guess what? No leaks, no weird behavior, no water creeping in. The watch kept ticking like nothing happened. This isn't a deep-sea diving watch, but for everyday splashes, hand washing, showers, swimming, and even some casual water activities, the 50 meters of water resistance still holds up well. Just don't press the buttons underwater, as that could compromise the seal. Final verdict? After 4 years, the water resistance is still solid, which is impressive for a watch in this price range.
Wrist check. Perfect fit or a little too snug?
Now let's talk about how the Casio W-218H wears on the wrist, because comfort and fit are just as important as durability. With a case size of 43.2 millimeters and a lug-to-lug distance of 44.4 millimeters, this watch sits comfortably on smaller to medium-sized wrists. On my 6.5-inch wrist, it feels just right, not too big, not too small. It has that classic digital watch presence without looking oversized or bulky. The compact lug-to-lug measurement helps it hug the wrist nicely, so it doesn't stick out awkwardly or feel like it's floating on top of my arm. Now, if you have a larger wrist, say around 7.5 inches or more, the W-218H might feel a bit small. It's not a tiny watch by any means, but it definitely leans toward the compact side, especially compared to chunkier G-Shocks or oversized sports watches. That said, if you prefer a lightweight, low-profile watch that doesn't get in the way, it could still work for you. Speaking of comfort, the lightweight design, just 37 grams, makes it super easy to wear all day. Unlike heavier stainless steel watches that might start to feel like a wrist weight, the W-218H almost disappears once you put it on. Whether you're working, running errands, or just lounging around, it stays secure without feeling restrictive. So for smaller wrists, it's a great fit. For larger wrists, it might feel a bit small, but if you like the vintage Casio aesthetic and lightweight feel, it could still be a solid choice. Either way, it's the kind of watch you can throw on and forget it's even there. Until you need to check the time, of course.
Pros and cons. The good, the bad, and the scratched crystal.
No watch is perfect, especially at this price point, but the Casio W-218H gets a lot of things right. Let's break down the pros and cons after 4 years of wear.
Pros. Why this watch is a winner.
Versatile size. At 43.2 millimeters with a 44.4 millimeters lug-to-lug, this watch sits perfectly on small to medium wrists without looking too bulky. It's compact enough for everyday wear, but still has a solid presence on the wrist. Legible display. The big, bold numbers make it easy to read the time at a glance, whether you're indoors, outdoors, or half asleep in the morning. The day, date, and indicators remain crisp and clear even after years of use. Bright amber LED backlight. The left side LED light does its job well. Sure, a dual light setup would be better, but for a budget watch, this is more than enough to read the time in the dark without straining your eyes. 50 water resistance. A budget watch that can handle swimming in showers? Yes, please. Well, I wouldn't go deep diving with it. It's tough enough for everyday splashes, rain, and even casual swims. 16 millimeters lug width equals strap options galore. The standard 16 millimeters lug width means you have tons of aftermarket strap options. If the resin strap ever breaks, like mine did, you can swap it out with NATO, leather, or silicone for a fresh look. Mini G-Shock vibes. It's not an actual G-Shock, but it does have that rugged, squared-off design that makes it look like a baby version of one. A great alternative for those who like the G-Shock style, but want something slimmer and more affordable. Affordable and reliable. For around $14, this watch has held up surprisingly well. No battery change needed yet, no major failures, and it still works like a champ. Decent alarm. The alarm is clear and functional, perfect for setting reminders throughout the day. It's not the loudest, but does its job well.
Cons, the trade-offs you should know.
Bezel not raised equals scratches galore. The flat crystal is fully exposed, so it picks up scratches very easily. If you're rough with your watches or work in environments where your wrist bumps into things, expect some battle scars. No dual LED backlight. While the left side LED is decent, it would be way better if Casio had added a right side LED for even brightness. Not a deal breaker, but something to note. Limited availability at this price. This watch is so affordable and good that it often sells out. Finding it for $14 again might be a challenge, as prices fluctuate over time.
Who is this watch for? The right wrist for the job.
So, after 4 years with the Casio W-218H, who would actually enjoy wearing this watch? Who would get the most value out of it? Well, let's break it down. 1. The budget-conscious watch enthusiast. If you love watches but don't want to spend a fortune, this little Casio is a no-brainer. It gives you reliable timekeeping, a decent alarm, a backlight, and 50 water resistance, all for the price of a fast food meal. Seriously, in a world where watches can cost hundreds or thousands, this one proves you don't need to break the bank to get a solid everyday timepiece. 2. The I just need a watch person. Not everyone cares about automatic movements, sapphire crystals, or brand prestige. Some people just want a watch that tells the time and doesn't require a second mortgage, and this is perfect for them. If you're the kind of person who just wants a simple, no-fuss watch that works every time you look at it, the W-218H is exactly that. No unnecessary features, no charging, no worries. 3. The daily beater watch user. Need a watch for work, yard work, hiking, swimming, or just everyday life. This Casio is built for it. It's light, not bulky, and can take a fair amount of abuse without you worrying about breaking it. Sure, the crystal scratches easily, but that's just part of the charm. You'll probably wear those scratches like battle scars. 4. The I want a G-Shock but smaller crowd. Love the look of a G-Shock, but don't want something as big and chunky? The Casio W-218H gives you that rugged, squared-off style in a more compact, lightweight package. It's like a baby G-Shock, just without the shock resistance and bulk. 5. The backup watch person. Maybe you already own some fancier watches, but you don't want to wear them when doing outdoor activities, sports, or rough work. Enter the W-218H. It's the perfect throw-on-and-go watch, one you won't feel bad about scratching, banging up, or getting wet. Who this watch isn't for. Now, if you're looking for a luxury timepiece, this is a $14 Casio, not a Rolex. A scratch-resistant watch. The crystal will get scratched, no way around it. A high-tech smartwatch. No Bluetooth, no step counter, no fancy features. Just good old-fashioned digital timekeeping.
Final thought.
If you want an affordable, no-nonsense digital watch that can handle daily wear, casual swims, and a bit of rough use, the Casio W-218H is a fantastic choice. Sure, it's not perfect, scratches will happen, and it's not the loudest alarm out there. But at this price, it's hard to find anything better. Would I buy it again? Absolutely. Would I baby it? No way. It's made to be used.
Casio W-218H. Key feature summary.
Stopwatch. 1/100 second precision with a 59-minute, 59.99 second capacity. Includes elapsed time, split time, and first to second place time modes. Great for casual timing needs. Alarm and hourly signal. A daily alarm for reminders and an hourly beep to keep track of time. The alarm is functional but not very loud. LED backlight. Amber-colored light from the left side. Simple but effective for nighttime visibility. Calendar. Auto calendar adjusts dates automatically, except for February, which is fixed at 28 days. Accuracy. Plus or minus 30 seconds per month, with minor variations in real-world use. Water resistance. 50 meters, 5 ATM. Safe for washing hands, showering, and light swimming, but not for diving or pressing buttons underwater. 12/24 hour format. Supports both standard and military time settings. Regular timekeeping. Displays hour, minute, second, PM indicator, date, and day for easy reference. A durable, budget-friendly watch with essential features and long-lasting reliability. Perfect for a daily beater. Alright folks, that's my 4-year review of the Casio W-218H. It's been a solid, no-nonsense companion. And for the price, it's hard to beat. What do you think? Do you own this watch? Or are you planning to get one? Let me know in the comments. I think that's the end of the video, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and giving it a like. It really helps out the channel. And hey, if you want to support this small channel, check out our merch. Every purchase helps us keep making more watch content. See you again in the next one. Bye for now.